Boom.
In the world, what are all these books doing here?
Oh my God.
As you said, there's no filters on this podcast.
As I was supposed to turn freeways 80 feet in the air, I go straight out and I wake up and I was like, I'm going to die.
I go, I got a doozy for you.
And after I got off the stage, upper management said, you can never tell that story ever again.
Down comes mom down the stairs, and she just completely butt naked and just looks me dead in the eye. She just stands there, frozen.
Buckle in. No,
does anybody talk about this sort of stuff on the Ponytails podcast?
Yeah, so I guess for me, it's just gratitude for the opportunity that I've had to develop myself and the opportunity to help others get out of their comfort zones and become the best versions that they can be, developing some awesome friendships.
People think of like, what was the craziest thing that ever happened to you on the book field?
And they were not happy. There's a lot of unflattering truth.
What is up, everybody? We are live on the air, and we have our good friend DBA on the show. If this is your first time listening, welcome to the Ponytails podcast. I am joined by Nick Taverdi, my co-host, and the man of the hour. We'll have Nick introduce him in just a second. Before we get to that, though, if you haven't heard a quick announcement, the BIZZLER thing is happening. DBA, I don't know if you know about this or not, but August 15th through the 19th, we're having a party down in Cancun with some of our favorite alumni. So if you need more details on this, the link to the details of this will be on the link to this episode on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of the things, as well as, if you have questions, you make sure to message us, comment on us. But we are getting ready for this with one of our partners. And if you guys haven't heard, we are partnering up with Elevate Wellness. Now, these guys are phenomenal. We're working to elevate our life. So big thanks to them. These guys are great. We are doing so much good stuff. My body hurts from the workouts. Nick, how are you feeling? Oh, Nick, you're muted, brother. I can't hear you for some reason.
Oh, sorry. It's too much, man. The legs especially. So
Nick's getting his butt kicked. Yeah. But yeah, they're helping us out with the nutrition aspect of it. I'm down like a healthy 9 pounds since we started doing this, and I am feeling great. It's very cool. So big thanks to them. Make sure you guys check us out. And if you guys want more information on how to get in shape for that, how to get yourself in better shape, elevate your life, reach out to us. We'll get you out to Seth and Zane so they can help you with your fitness goals and beyond. We are also partnering up with Aptive Environmental. So I love Nick Warner and what he's doing over at Aptive. They are crushing it. Nick, can you tell us a little bit more about Nick and Aptive?
Yeah, so Nick is a former bookman who took the same principles of, rock solid schedule, working with goal periods and, bringing it to a different industry. They do a summer sales blitz where it's like a momentum-based sale. They're selling pest control. They're selling like on average 15 to 20 accounts a day if they're really going at it, which to me was unheard of, right? Most I ever had on the book field in a day was 8. And so their record is like 34 in a day. And so, they make, really good volume of sales. They take home good paychecks. Nick's looking to build his team. They're breaking records within this company, which is actually a 6,000 person company. And he's got one of the best sales organizations in the company. So he's looking to recruit some people for this summer. We'll put you in touch with him for an interview. You can check out his social media is at Nick Warner. He would be who you would work with. So it's great. So there's Aptive.
Good stuff. Awesome, man. Well, now let's jump into the show. DBA. Let me have Nick introduce you because we have to give you a proper introduction as legend that you are. Nick, go ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah, so awesome to have you, DBA. A 6 summer bookman from Mizzou, sold from 2009 through 2014 Force
Mhm.
represent, man. We're excited to have you on. I know that you built some really awesome teams back in the day, made great friends with some of the people that you helped bring up in the book business around the same time. You're now crushing it in the Southwestern consulting realm, an elite level coach and team leader with Southwestern Consulting. So let's dive right into it, man. We'd love to hear your story. Let's start at the very start. Who was DBA back in the day, 2009? Were you like a freshman on campus, or what was your story?
Yeah, man. Well, first off, thanks for having me, guys. I'm stoked to be here. And yeah, what just all the feels, right? All the feels. I was talking to my wife. So my wife sold books. I don't know if you guys knew that, but
Yes.
my wife sold books, and we were talking about this leading up to today. And she's like, "What are you even going to talk about?" I'm like, "I don't know." And then thankfully, thank you, Andres, for that text. Yeah, my mind started going back, and like putting myself back where I was. It wasn't that long ago, but it feels like, a really long time ago. Because yeah, man, like I was a freshman at Mizzou. Okay. And so you asked that question, like who was I right before or when I first heard about this crazy summer thing. So I was a freshman, and I think my wife and my friends who knew me then would describe me as like a tie-dye wearing, big hair, curly, like just a hippie in all senses of the word, right? And at the time, I was planning on being an education major. I wanted to be my plan, right? My very thought out, intentional. I'm for sure doing this. I was going to teach high school social studies. And then when I graduated, I'd go to the Peace Corps for a couple years, and I'd do my world travel thing. And I believed that was the future, And
That's right.
my freshman year, so that fall, I joined a community service organization. It's like a co-ed, non-Greek fraternity called Alpha Phi Omega, APO. And I go to the first orientation meeting, and it sounds great, but there's this goofy looking guy up front, and he's got even bigger hair than I do at the time. And I don't know, he's loud and he's funny and he looks really familiar, but I can't really place him. And so when we start talking, I realized this guy, his name's Will Metcher. We went to high school together, and we were actually in marching band together.
No way.
Yeah. And, small world, right? Because fast forward now, like Will was the best man at my wedding. He was the one who told me about Southwestern. He's getting married soon. I'll be in his wedding. Like I can confidently say Will's my best friend. Oh, right.
Oh.
But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that relationship, why it's so deep, comes from what we're going to talk about is this crazy thing, and so starting to get reintroduced to Will, and we're hanging out, and just randomly I felt like he kept leaving town, and I didn't understand it, because now looking back, it was like Keynote, it was Key Persons, it was GRS, it was like those trips that he earned, but I didn't really understand it. I thought he just flew to Phoenix to go sell books or something, like to school districts. I don't know, but it seemed pretty cool, from the pictures. And we got to know each other, hang out, and the funny thing is my roommate at the time, Ryan, he was a business major, right? And he wanted to go into sales, right? And so Ryan and I were in APO together with Will, and we all got to hanging out, and they start talking, and Will's like, "Oh man, Ryan, you'd be great for this thing." And the whole time they're talking, Ryan's going through the interview process. I'm like, "Man, that's your thing. Like, I'm not a sales guy. I'm going to be a teacher. I don't need any business skills. That looks cool, man, but it's definitely not for me, man." Right? That's where I was in life, right? And
with the hair, I can just see it.
Oh yeah, yeah, tie-dye shirt, yeah, a little hemp necklace,
Oh, perfect.
With the beads, right?
There you go.
Conch shells, right? The little conch shells.
A peculiar smell.
Yeah.
Perhaps. No, just kidding.
Perhaps at times. And yeah, just I don't know, something happened, right? So Ryan gets selected for this super cool thing that he's excited about. I still don't really know a ton about it, but Ryan got selected. And then we keep hanging out with Will and Ryan, and Ryan's getting more excited about this thing. And you'll have to ask Will about the specifics of this story, because I don't remember exactly what happened, which kind of ties in with, I don't remember what we were doing that weekend. I just remember, I can't remember much about that weekend. But that weekend, Will brought up, hey man, I think you should do this. And I was like, no way, man, but I'll at least check it out. And yeah, and then that next Monday, I guess I had an appointment with Anthony, because Will reminded me about it, because I guess I committed to it over the weekend.
Great.
Right. Like, okay, sure, whatever. I'll go hear about it.
So interested
Will's a
in
good
it.
guy, and I trust him, and whatever. My roommate's doing it. It sounds cool. I'm at least open to hear about it. And yeah, I mean, I had all my interviews with a guy named Anthony Merkel, who's, I now work with, again, one of my really good friends. And I ended up getting selected for this team, this summer internship program. And, at the time thinking, again, I'm going to be a teacher. I at least made this correlation as a 19-year-old kid, where I was like, listen, I don't think I'm ever going to be in any kind of sales or business or anything like that. But I know that the best teachers I've had have always been so engaging, right? They've been able to connect with people really well. Like, they've been able to tell really good stories. And I don't know like the technicalities behind it, but everyone that I'm meeting, these people like Anthony, these people like Grant Greeter, Nick Henderson, like these people that I'm meeting, like they're really good at connecting, and like they tell really good stories, and they're just fun to be around. And if I can learn that, I mean, what do I have to lose? Like, I'm just going to be a lifeguard if I stay here. And like, I lived in the town that I still live in, the town that I went to school in, which is also the town that my family's in. And so like a little part of me was, I didn't leave for college, like a lot of people did. And so like, I still had a great year. I still had a lot of fun, but like, parents are, 2.5 miles away from my dorm room. My dad worked on campus, 2.5 blocks from my dorm room. So, there was just something exciting too about like this idea of leaving for a summer and exploring, I think that really appealed to me. So,
did your parents have a problem with it? Like, sorry to interject, but how are your parents feeling? Because that's actually sometimes you, at least from the recruiting experiences, you would go talk to these kids and their parents who like really didn't go far. They never really left the town to be like, hey, you want to do this? And it's like, no, you can't go, or whatever. What was it like for you?
Sure, yeah. I think it's one of those things, like hindsight's 2020. Like, I have a version of what I think I said and what I think my mom said, and she has a version of what she thinks she said, and Anthony has a version of what he thinks the meeting went like, right? I think at first, 0% interest. This sounds like way different than anything we've ever heard about, talked about, dreamt about, right? Like, no one in my family is in business. My dad's a professor. My mom's a psychologist. Everyone else has been in like education, or like no one's done anything remotely related except for, and this is a whole separate thing, except for one uncle who did this weird summer thing in the 70s on a bicycle in Nashville, and he sold Bibles or something, but he's kind of like the black sheep of the family. So if it's anything like that, definitely shouldn't do it. Yeah. Long story short, come to find out, my uncle worked with Southwestern one summer in the 70s, and he had a great time and he learned a lot, but neither here nor there at the time. Right. So, I think my parents were not open. They weren't excited, but I think at the same time, they also saw in me a desire to do something, to be focused, to apply, to learn, to grow. And it did help And I think this was one of the biggest things, was it did help that I knew Will's family was also in town. So my parents and Will's mom met. Anthony did a really great parent visit. And, at the end of it, it was tentatively excited, but more just like, listen, just come back in one piece. You'll learn. I'm sure you'll learn a lot, but
yeah.
So where'd
Dang,
you go
man.
for summer? How'd it play out?
Yeah.
And how was sales school?
Yeah.
I'm echoing.
Well,
Sorry about that.
You're
You
good.
were.
Am I cool on audio on my end?
I think you sound good.
Good.
I might be coming through somebody else's speakers. Am I on?
You might be coming through mine. Are you good?
No, I think
Okay.
your echoing stopped, Andres. I don't know if it was just.
I
a
just
brief
turned you
thing.
guys down on my end. That might have been it.
I think that
My
would have
mic
been
might
it.
have
Yeah,
been picking you guys up. Yeah.
a little bit.
Okay. Business.
Sales
Southwestern.
school.
Sales school.
And your first summer.
Yeah. I mean, so kind of backing the train up on it. Sales school with Southwestern is it's a trip, and
Yeah. Understatement.
yeah, I mean, jumping off a end of a pool with weights on, and like expecting one thing, and it's way more intense than you thought it'd be. I think leading up to the summer and going into the summer and like sales school, like somewhere in there, the super chill guy that was just like sitting on the sidelines, right? The competitive part of me that had always been there. Like I played sports through high school and everything. Like I've always been a competitive person. But that part of me came back out. Right. Mm-hmm. And so going into the summer, like I was studying my sales talk. I was learning the stuff. I was going to all the morning meetings. I was in, I was getting more and more excited day by day. And so when we get there, like, I don't know, I think I just I tried to be Sammy Southwestern, I guess. They said jump. I said how high. Running up the hill, like I sprinted up that thing, like I was in. I was all in. I think I even like sprinted around a corner, in the parking lot and like fell and ate it and was like bleeding on my knee. And then I was like, let's go, and just looking back, there's a little part of me that's like, that's pretty intense, like,
yeah.
maybe they need it. Maybe I needed it, but yeah. So sales school was great. Had a lot of fun, learned a lot, super intense, overwhelming, but I remember Roger Stipe spoke my first sales school as the keynote, and like, again, kind of the same theme. Like you guys have heard people like Roger, people like Rory, Lee McCroskey, like all these, not to say greats because they're just normal people, right? But they were really, really good at what they were doing, right? And like, man, just to like, they're so good at emotionally building you up and getting you excited. And like, I mean, call it what you will, but like sales school is a well-designed machine. It has a very intentional purpose, and it worked. My first summer, it worked. So I ended up getting selected to actually room with Anthony, Anthony Merkel. And so we went up to Connecticut my first summer, and went up to good old Connecticut, lived
love Connecticut.
Right outside of Bristol. Or did we live in Bristol? I don't know. We lived right outside of Bristol in a town called Southington. And I worked, my first of many towns that summer was Farmington, Connecticut. And man, it's just a trip thinking back on, it just everything about that, like we were lucky enough, we had housing setups. Like I didn't deal with that my first summer. I dealt with that in later summers, but like, man, just so much of that, even just the journey up there is like, that was my first time driving past Indiana, so first time to Tennessee, first time anywhere out there, driving on the East Coast. And it's just, it's not a different world, but it is a different world. Like your first time, you know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah,
it is. I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, and also what I was going to ask you, it's like the culture shock of like, well, I'm still echoing somewhere. I don't know. Somebody's got to turn me down. But the culture shock of like going from the Midwest to or whatever part of the country to New England, right? And I
It's a
remember going to
different part of the country.
Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Yeah, going to Massachusetts, and you're like, they're mean, they're rude, they're like, and you're like not used to this. And you get this really nice hospitality in Missouri and Nebraska and Kansas. Not so much up there. What was that like for you?
Yeah, man. It's you know, again, first summer, right? Like first summer, you don't know what you don't know, and so like my my uncle, my uncle, not the one that did Southwestern, the other uncle, he actually lives in Connecticut, and so like I felt like I had a vibe of what Connecticut people were like, you know. But you know, again, it's like everywhere you go. So you get the fast-paced talkers and like those were there, and then there were super chill, relaxed people and like very normal people, and not to say the others aren't normal, right? But like more what I'm used to in cadence and right, like. But yeah, and then there's also like it's New England, it's Connecticut, it's people who are waiting to commute to New York City, like.
Oof.
Yeah, speed. It you know, it's part
Yeah.
of it. It was cool, man. Again, it's like my first summer. So Farmington was my first of many, right? So I don't know the exact number because
Right.
I lost count, and part of my brain doesn't want to think back on the exact number.
Every single
But,
town.
yeah, I mean, I probably worked like 14 or 15 towns. I had a ton of PR issues my first summer because I mean, you know, again, catch 22, right? Positives, negatives of like drink the Kool-Aid, do exactly as they say. One thing I learned in subsequent summers was there's a difference between, right, being a robot, being a door dummy, just doing as they say and actually like internalizing the concepts and still being yourself, right? And so like when they said run in between each house, like I was sprinting to the door, banging on that thing and sprinting back, and you know, probably could have done a better job of, you know, power walking, you know, light jogs,
Being a little less creepy as like you're bolting up to the front door out of breath.
Yeah, and I think, you know, again, it's this catch-22. Like you hear these stories of like a Matt Atchison, right? You know, I looked up to Matt. You know, Matt was still around when my first summer, and he's hilarious, you know, and he has this this tenure and this track record of success, and he's like, oh yeah, you know, I went up and I just the garage door was open, so I just went and knocked on the inside door because why not, you know, and like that's Matt Atchison, you know, but like, but when I'm sprinting into their garage to bang on their door to then sprint back to my car, like it's a little different, you know, and so. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like a blur, honestly. But I mean, I just remember I loved my first summer. It was hard. It was awesome. It was exciting. It was the highest highs and the lowest lows. You know, they say it, but like it's a real thing. You know.
Yeah. Did you know right away you wanted to come back? Did you know
no.
like?
No.
Or were you like,
no,
not. This is one time and I'm done? What was that like?
Yeah.
For you?
Well, because I mean, going into it, you know, like I was 0% ever going to be in any kind of sales or business role, right? Like my entire family, they're in education or some kind of, right? Like that's what I thought my path was as well. And you know, I viewed Southwestern as like it's going to be a good experience. I'm going to learn a lot. I'm probably going to get paid some money, which that'll be fun. But you know, again, like I ended up getting so much more. You know, like. I just remember like looking back after my first summer and just feeling like I could do anything, you know, and just like now as an adult, right? Like I don't go back to that feeling as much for that first summer. Now it's other things that cause that feeling, right? But like that first kernel of I did something that other people weren't willing to do. I did something that was really hard. I faced rejection and I picked myself up every day. Yeah. So you said to put, ponytail story. I don't know if this is a ponytail story or not, but like
Go ahead.
one that came to mind specifically my first summer. So it was kind of funny thinking back on it, but like I remember going into the summer, like Anthony and Will and Nick, everybody said like, you're gonna cry. You're gonna cry. I'm like, no way, never, nope, not me. That's not who I am. It's not how I roll. Right? I'm good. And week one, I think I worked the first day, followed the second, worked the third. Gosh, the more I think about this is why this is such a cool experience, because like I hadn't thought about some of these things until like I started talking.
Yeah.
Oh
It's
yeah.
almost like AA or therapy, right? I'm like, we're digging. This is
Yes,
good.
we are. Bring it back. Bring it back.
Show us where on this doll or on this pony did Southwestern touch you?
Yeah,
Or whatever.
right. Show us on this pre-approach map where the kids live. Yeah. So my first week, I'm a couple days in. I've had a little bit of success, right? I can tell you that in a second too. That my first day, but I'm a couple days in, and I'm sitting on zero. It's around 4 in the afternoon or something, and nope. It must have been right before 3 o'clock, because we were doing the 3 o'clock roll concept.
Yes.
Right. So the watch goes off at 3, you do a roll, right? I think
No
I also
matter
had
where
my
you're
watch
at.
set to like what?
No matter where you're at.
No matter
That's
where
the
you're
key.
at, right?
Yeah.
In the house, outside,
Yeah.
good times. But I think I also had my watch set on like a 10-minute timer just to like keep me going, right? So I go and I knock on this door, and I don't even remember what the person said, but I just remember that day I was trying to make myself laugh. And so I put on like a super bright colored polo with like plaid shorts with 2 different color socks and 2 different shoes, because I was listening to some advanced sales CD and somebody said they did that. And I was like, that's what I'll do. And I just remember I knocked on this door. I'm going through my thing, and the guy's like, no, he's very like normal at first. And so I start asking for pre-approach, and he just shuts me down. He's like, no, man, like, why would I ever help you? Like, look at you. Like, you look ridiculous. And there was just something in that moment that I was like, no, I don't. I'm trying really hard right now, And he was just like, no, get out of here, And I just start like crying, right? But I turn around, I'm like, oh my, it's fine. I go back to the car, and I'm just like, the tears are just intensifying, right? But I'm still on schedule. I'm still going, like, you're either with Miss Jones or you're on your way to see Miss Jones. And so I'm like turning the key and backing out of the driveway, driving to the next house.
Jeez.
And I get out, and I'm just like bawling, and I go and I knock on the door. Again, this is like where we're listening blindly and not having any EQ yet as a 19-year-old kid. I'm like bawling. I'm crying because this guy, made fun of my ridiculous outfit, rightfully so, because I looked ridiculous. I didn't have a good approach. So I probably said something like, I'm selling books. Where do kids live or something? He's like, get out of here, But to me, I was like, that was the best approach ever. And I'm just trying to do my job. He's just so mean to me. And I'm just crying.
I guess he hadn't heard of me.
Yeah. And I'm literally crying. I knock on this door, and an old, like, the sweetest old man answers the door. And he's like, I'm just like, my name's Daniel. I'm a summer intern with Southwestern. And I go through the entire thing crying. And he's like, yeah, I don't know where. I don't know how to help you. I'm like, okay, thank you. And I go back to the car, and I can't hold it together. So I go back to the nice old man. I knock on his door again, and he comes out, and I go, can I cry in your driveway? And he's like, sure.
Oh my
Thank you,
God.
thank you. And so I go and I'm just crying for like, it was probably like 7-8 minutes straight. And it was just getting worse and worse and worse. And then I remember my watch goes off and something was just like, oh, that felt really good.
Oh, there you go.
And I was like, okay, back to work. I don't think I sold anything that day, but that was the first time I cried on the book field, one of many, but that was
Wow.
the one I always think about because I was like, that was ridiculous. It was ridiculous, you know?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
like as an adult, even, and again, this is where it's like as a 20-year-old, you come back after your first summer and you look back and you're like, I did that and then I kept doing it. Like what, and then I actually did pretty well. Like I actually hit the incentive trip. I was a top first year, like all these, like I was there and then I kept going, like I was there, but I picked myself back up. Like I was there, but that was just a day. Like there's all these little things where like you look back and you reflect, and hindsight's 2020, right? You don't get some of these messages until you step out, until you reflect. But it's like even just after one summer, I knew there was a part of me that knew it would be good if I did it again. And a part of me was really scared about that because that was really hard and emotionally trying. And I did pretty okay my first year, but like, who's to say I'd do that again? Like, what if it was a fluke? And, all these thoughts,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wild. And this is maybe a good way to transition into what you're up to now because and I know because we have you for a short amount of time today. But
I have a couple more minutes if needed. I got a text from.
Oh, okay, good. Good to know. Just let us know in the chat, whatever we can do to accommodate. Yeah, like thinking about what you said, experience, hindsight, right? I read somewhere like experience is a thing that happens after you need it, right? Otherwise you're in the middle of it. And how would you, looking back on that and realizing that you did that, then you start getting these doubts, and how would you coach someone listening to this going, okay, I'm going through something similar right now. I know I've done this before and I did well, but now I'm insecure about it. Maybe I'm not so sure. What would you say? And then maybe that can roll into what you do for work for a living now, and why you're telling us this.
Yeah. I guess to clarify your question, are they currently bawling in an old man's driveway?
The emotional equivalent of bawling in an old man's driveway. Yeah.
Just want to clarify the question. Thank you for helping me understand. Yeah, like I think, again, hindsight's 2020, right? And so, like you said, I love that quote. Of like we don't know what it is until we've gone through it. Like you can't read like the story unless the page has been like finished. It's hard to read. Like it's hard to put those thoughts as the words are coming out of the page, right? Like unless you're the author, right? And so being that I'm just reading my own book here, right? Like it's tough to write my own story. Man, I don't know. I think if there was anybody out here right now who is in that place of feeling the weight, right, around something in their past, right, whether it was success or failure, and fear, right, for the future, right, uncertainty, doubt in themselves, in their opportunity. Without going too far down a rabbit hole here, I think what I'd encourage them to do is to take some time to slow down and to separate the part of them that has those feelings. That those feelings are valid, right? Like it's okay to have fear. It's okay to be anxious. It's okay to do all these, right? That part of you is there to protect you, right? Like it's there to keep you safe. But to slow down enough to let that part be, and then to listen to the other part of you that believes you can. And there's plenty of different exercises out there. We did plenty of them with Southwestern, and you can Google half the ideas out here of like, gratitude journals or, vision boards, right? Like there's plenty of exercises to work on the part of you that believes you can, or that is hopeful. Like that part of you still exists, even when the other part has a really loud voice in your ear right now. And so for myself, like Mr. Mediocrity, right? Like Mr. M sitting on your shoulder, like he never goes away. It doesn't matter how old you are, what you do. Like everybody has that in them. And we get to consciously work on loving on him because he's there for a reason, but then asking him to, take a back seat, brother. I'm just here to listen to my other guy for a bit, I'm going to do weights with this guy. This guy joined Elevate Wellness or something, right? Like I want to give him a workout and like feed him the right things, right? Like it's all
right.
Right. Did that answer your question to an extent?
Dude,
what do you think about that? What are your thoughts?
That's gold. Nick, I'll let you answer first.
Well, this is quite a like large umbrella of conversation of like how to coach yourself through something, right? You said it well already. Of course, you gotta like give yourself time and really stop. And I've gotten my own coaching on like actually feel your feelings, right? A lot of times we distract ourselves when we're feeling troubled or sad, and we don't like lean into it. When you do that, you're able to go through it. It's kind of like going through the storm instead of just kind of sticking and moping with it. So it's really emotionally intelligent to feel your feelings and then come out on the other end with this rationality of like, hey, we can get better. We will get better. We just need to make better choices. And even if we did make good choices that we failed from on the other side, it's like that happens to everybody. So pick yourself, keep going.
Yeah. Amen.
I would say to what you said, and like it's like a balance, kind of like what you're saying. And I think it's healthy to acknowledge that exists, that fear, that negative stuff exists. I feel like something Southwestern made you try to forget that stuff was there.
Yeah.
And so it just built up until you cried, which is, I think, why everybody cries.
Yeah.
There is something to, there's two ways to look at it, right? If you did it once, you can do it again. If you can do it again, you can do it every time. That's a mentality. But then that's also balanced by the fact that it's like, look, if you were at your best all the time, then your best would be your average.
Yeah.
Which means there's like a newer ceiling, right? So there are ebb and flows in everything in life seasons, right? Where you're like, sometimes things are all going for you. It's something, we could call it luck, you could call it God, you can call it the universe, but every door seemed to answer. You ever get in those moments? It's kind of like that flow state where you're like, everybody's literally buying. When you would say that, you meant it like, I haven't missed in 3 sales, or whatever. And then there's days where just you're crying in an old man's driveway. And you need the lows to enjoy the highs. And it's okay to cruise at 80 or above, but just chill. And it's okay to cruise at 20 or below sometimes, right? And there is something about like acknowledging that. And so I think what you're saying is super powerful, of saying, hey, look, it's okay. It sucks. Sometimes it sucks, but also it's okay that I can learn from it, grow from it, and then it won't suck anymore. And then something else is going to be terrible. Right. And you just get better at dealing with it. It never gets easier. You just kind of like learn it.
Dealing with it.
Yeah. Get over it. Yeah. So that's good. That's great stuff. And that I like that you mentioned that, the what you're up to now. So tell us what happened with, how did the career end? How did you kind of end up realizing you had to move on? And then I want you to share what you're crushing in right now, because it's awesome what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. So I sold my first summer, right? I did well, hit the incentive trip, all that stuff. Story for another time, but made the decision to come back midway through that second year, and was kind of all in from there on. A little bit of uncertainty about it, but ended up coming back for a second summer, and 2 turned into 6. So ended up staying for 6 summers, and full-time recruited for 2, and built some great teams, helped keep Mizzou alive for a couple years, which is great. Yeah, really enjoyed it. My last summer though, so my last summer I was up in Maine, which by the way, I think Maine is the most beautiful place, right? Yeah, it's so pretty up there.
Gorgeous.
Oh, yeah.
Maine in the summer, man. Yeah, that's on the short term, long term. We got to get a place up there soon. But so the year before we had done Sizzler in Puerto Vallarta, and I don't know if I haven't seen pictures lately, so I don't know if you guys still partner with if Southwestern still partners with them, but we partnered with a school called the Escuela Orquestral de Puerto Vallarta. Basically, it's a music school, right? And they work with at-risk kids. And yeah, so the year before my last summer, we did a service project with them, and we donated musical instruments. And music is a really big part of my life. It's always been a part of my life. And growing up, Spanish being my first language, and like it was just kind of all intersecting, right? When we did that service project, and I was in love with the place. I was in love with it. And so I ended up talking to the director, and they had an extra saxophone. Like the kids were doing like a recital, and like I sat in with them that day and like played on the spot. It was so cool. But they mentioned, they're like, hey, if you ever want to come like teach here or volunteer here, like we'd love to have you. So that was kind of like sitting in the back of my mind. So after my last summer, when I was up in Maine, I actually moved to Mexico, to Puerto Vallarta. And I lived there for about 5 months before, from the end of the summer until Sizzler, and then a couple weeks after, and then I came back. And I taught at that school. And then after that, did a little bit of time in with Great American, fundraising, about 2 years there. And then prior to what I'm doing now, I spent right under 3 years actually out of the Southwestern family of companies. So I think it was what I needed, not what I necessarily wanted. There's a bunch of crazy life stuff that happened, but I was a loan officer for 3 years with a company called Veterans United. Senior LO, ran a team, helped thousands of veterans into homes, and had a blast doing it. But the biggest thing, and I think why this is so important, is like the biggest thing about that job that just kept eating away at me was the lack of autonomy. And like looking back now, like I understand it, but like when I was in it, like corporate job, golden handcuffs, making great 6-figure income, but like always stressed, always on my phone, always like worried, right? Like I was the guy who would wake up at 2 a.m. worried about work. Like I was the loan officer who was trying to put out fires from my phone before I was even out of bed, right? Like I'd be home with my wife, like with my friends, but I was never actually there, because like I'm so caught up, right, in this machine and being a part of it. And the whole time I was there, I could never put my finger on it, but what I was missing was what I'd grown up with. Again, looking back, it's like Southwestern gave me autonomy, like from a stupid 19-year-old, kid just doing his own thing. And, but to actually like growing a business, running an organization, like leading other people, but like still having freedom and autonomy to like do it within structure and follow the playbook, but to do it my own way, at my own pace, at my own schedule, like to work really hard and then take time off. Like I didn't realize like how big of an impact that made in my life until I no longer had it. Like until I was on someone else's clock, until I was clock in, clock out, like, so long story short, we found out we were going to have Jonah, my son. And I remember I called Anthony, and, for a couple of years, Anthony and Will, they had made the transition to Southwestern Consulting, which is where I am now, Southwestern Coaching. And they'd always left the door open. And I always appreciated that about them, was that they left the door open, but they didn't hound me. They said, listen, man, we know you'd kill it here. We know you do great. I know you've got your your thing and it's going really well right now, but like, you know, just it'd be cool to work together again, brother. You know, we miss you, you know? And I just remember I called him. I said, listen, man, I don't know if this will work out or not, but like, man, I can't keep living this life this way. Like something needs to change. And I mean, I've always wanted to explore the idea. Like what you guys do sounds cool. Tell me more, but like hesitant about like, that's y'all's thing. I'm like, I am in sales, but I'm not like you guys are like sales people. Like I've put that mantle aside, right? Like I'm no longer the Southwestern sales guy, right? Like I'm good at sales, but like I'm part of corporate. I'm right. Like I didn't identify as much with that, but then going through the process, man, I just saw so much potential for building a life by design and doing something that I believed was important and making an impact in the world and in a way that I really resonated with. And doing that with some of my best friends, you know, and like, yeah. So now, right, I'm a coach and I work with Southwestern coaching, and I've been with them a little over 3 years, and I'm a team leader. I'm you know, elite coach, and I'm like
That's
so
wild.
many blessings on that side. But man, it's just like Dave Brown talks about this idea of like, it doesn't matter if you're here or anywhere else, right? Like the people that you choose to work with, that you choose to build a business with, like what you do during the day, like most of the time, you're actually going to spend more time doing that, like than you will with your family. Like in the Western world that we live in, right? A 40-hour work week is actually more time than most people spend with their family, which is a super bummer. That's a whole separate thing, right? But like,
yeah,
to spend that time with like your best friends, you know, to spend that time like in service of a bigger mission that you believe in, that you're excited about, that's hard as heck, but like is so rewarding. It's the coolest thing ever, you know? And so, yeah, so I'm a coach, man. I love it. It's
let's go.
I was literally going through, I was reading something this morning, and the thought that came to mind as I was like reflecting was like, I am living a dream right now that I once never thought possible.
Yeah.
Like,
That's not too shabby.
yeah, you know, and like,
Yes.
yeah, we're not, I mean, candidly, we're not multimillionaires or anything like that, you know, but like,
Sure.
but I have autonomy in my schedule. Like I get to make decisions, right? So that is an important thing to me. I see my wife and my kids now, because now we have 2, all the time, right? It's just the coolest, man. I work with my best friends. I believe in what we do. Like I love my clients, both the ones that I've found on my own and the ones that have been introduced to me by way of somebody else. But like it's the coolest, you know, doing what we do now, helping people. And I think where this comes full circle, right, is like Southwestern, my first summer and all the summers since, right? Like my dad actually said something really powerful after my first summer. Cause I came back on riding a high horse after my first summer, you know, and I said something like, Southwestern taught me to like work really hard and set goals and crush it. And like Southwestern taught me these things. And he looked me dead in the eye. He's like, no, Southwestern just brought that out of you. Like that was already in you. You already knew that. And I was like, sick, nice. Because I'm like 19.
You got
But you know, again, it's like it just so many of these like these messages and these lessons, and like yeah, stepping away, I had to let go of some stuff and like relearn some stuff, like self-talk. Like that was not a positive thing for me for a long time. I have now relearned that concept, you know, as an adult.
right.
Again, just like schedule and like again, all these little things that were just drilled into you. Like it's so cool because when I left the family of companies, when I went into corporate, right, and like I was doing really, really well, but like I wasn't following the principles that I was taught or held accountable to with Southwestern. You know, I wasn't in an environment where like we talked about those things, like lots of these little things you just don't think about. And so like now I get to help people like figure out what's most important to them, go after it, but do it in a way without having to sacrifice their like their health or their happiness or their family in the process. And I just think that's like the biggest blessing. It's so cool.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not
That's
saying
super
everyone should work with us, but if y'all want to, give me a buzz.
That's right. Where can people find you? How can we find you to like say someone's listening and they're like, you know what, I could learn a little bit more about how to get coached better. I could use a coach. Where how can we find you?
Yeah. So a couple places. The internet. So as a side note, if you search my name on, I think it's off the first page by now, but there may or may not still be some stupid news articles from my third summer when I got kicked out of some more towns. So don't just Google
boy.
my name. I mean, you can, but the best way to connect with me would probably either be LinkedIn or Instagram. So D Burke-Aguero, no hyphen, just the letter and then the last name, or Daniel Burke-Aguero on LinkedIn. And so put out a decent amount of content, not a crazy amount. And so yeah, feel free to connect. And if it's helpful, great. If not, no big deal, right? Look at the nice little buying atmosphere in there.
There you go. So if you guys want more information on how to find DBA, if you want to learn a little bit more about the coaching that he provides, that's the place you go. Let's go, dude. That is so amazing.
Yeah. Well,
I knew you'd be good at that because I remember you giving advanced sales parts, and I'm like, this guy's a good coach. It's a good teacher. That teacher inside of you, you're
like
good.
a warm blanket, man. Hearing you talk, like I wish that I could speak through your voice all the time because it's so smooth and it makes me feel calm and very at peace. And also uplifted, right? You also have your range where you're super excited and coaching people up to great successes. So keep at it. Love what you're doing now. That's awesome. I think it's about time for the ponytails. Maybe we we'll dive right into those after a little word about Southwestern.
You reminded me. Yeah, you reminded me. So I'm going to talk about this really quick. So let me see if I do this. So one of the cool things about doing this show is that we get to partner with just book people, only book people. So all of our partners are people who we are trying to pay it forward back towards. Our goal is to bring this whole network to life. There's 150,000 living alumni, and we're trying to find them all to get them to come share their stories because they're funny and they're good and they're inspiring. And so that's really cool. But your story actually reminded me of what Pat was also telling us about Southwestern real estate. So if somebody out there is listening to this, and look, we know that there are a ton of opportunities, but if you want to keep it in the family and you want to get that, healthy aspect of the Southwestern culture, Southwestern real estate would be a good place to also go to. This is for the people out there who are fans of HGTV, Property Brothers. They are 99% drama free, as Pat would have us tell you. But really, if you're looking for flexible hours, is kind of what Dan was talking about, that kind of stuff. That is also another place you can message us. We can get you in touch with Pat, and so that way you guys can get if you sold books, you get an automatic right away interview directly with Pat. So if you want to get a hold of us, you can reach us, comment below, or you can message us on Instagram, and we will get you connected for sure. On that note, we are also partnered with, and if you want to talk about this, Nick, go ahead.
Wicked is Martine and Lucasz. You got their picture up there, Andres?
I don't have their picture, but we can chat about it. Go ahead.
Yeah, pick off the other logo then.
Yep.
So yeah, Martine and Lucasz are some current book kids that 10,000 unit producer with Martine. Lucasz growing a huge organization with him over there in Utah. And so they, on the side in this off season, are starting a DJing business. So believe it or not, in 10 days, they're going to be performing at the Freddy's instead of a live band. They're going to be, doing all the music in between the awards, which is super fun. And they're going to be doing maybe some weddings here and there. Not sure.
Yeah, they're going to be doing my wedding.
Yeah, Campo wedding. Check it out. To Infinity upcoming.
That's
here
right.
in February. So that's where Martine and Lucasz are going to be throwing down some jams. Their whole MO is music intelligence. When you hire a DJ, you want to make sure that they know how to play good music, no matter the vibe. And then, are they affordable? Right? Can you actually afford them? They make really cheap arrangements for getting the same job done that anyone else would charge you an arm and a leg for. And they're trustworthy. You know, they work by principle like book kids do. And, you know, hit us up to get you in touch with them for whatever event you got going on.
That's right. Also, I will mention this, and I've already been working with them. Easy to communicate with. They're very upfront about everything. Really well priced. And honestly, like it was just so easy that you could tell that they got the right vibe. They're going to bring the party to my wedding. So if they're good enough for me, they're probably good enough for everyone. I'm just joking. They're good enough for the Freddies. Are good enough for everyone. That's what I think. Which is why I hired them. And so here we are. So now let's jump into some opponent stories. Let's see. You got the mic here, Dan, so you can go as long as or as short as you want. Just let us know. And if you have multiple stories or just the one, it's up to you. We're here to listen. This is our favorite part of the show.
Obligatory. This is coming from your student manager. Will wants to hear about a poop story. Just saying.
Of course he does. Of course he does.
Is this the stage to be talking about that?
Oh man, of course he does.
Legendary.
Of course he does. Yeah. All right.
We're at a crossroads.
Right. We can either go left or right here. This is the
number one or number
story,
two.
I guess. If I only get one, this is
you
I
get
guess,
two. You can go number two. You can.
Well, so here's the caveat, right? When I was thinking about this question, right? Like if I had one thing to say, right, to end this episode powerfully, right? I would end with a thought just around like gratitude, man, for the whole experience. And again, hindsight's 2020, right? But like looking back on the dumb 19-year-old kid that I was and how random it seemed at the time that over a crazy weekend, this guy who I knew pretty well by that point somehow saw in me something to give me an opportunity to come hear about this thing, right? And now, you know, again, to fast forward over a decade later, you know, and like for Will to be the godfather of my kid, for just to it's just cool how the universe works, you know, like however you want to define it or believe in it. But like, I just think like a really cool story is being written for a lot of people who might be living it right now, might not realize it. Because again, hindsight's 2020, and it's hard sometimes to see the impact of one decision until you're further down the road. And so there's one thing I can leave with. It's just forever being grateful that sometime in like April, I think we were at Capon Park. Will, I guess if you're watching, we had the rock. Yeah, no one knows this story, which is great. And I'm not going to explain it, but you know, we had the rock, man, and we brought that rock with us. And Ryan Bachledge, you know, brought the rock, and again, just like life is so cool, you know, when you let it be. So there's my real heartfelt moment. So if you want to pause it. Now we're going to tell the dumb story.
That's going to be the clip that we put on our Instagram.
All right. Yes. That's the one you put on your Instagram.
Okay. That's a soundbite. That's
so on YouTube. And I didn't think I was going to tell this.
I texted ahead of time, giving you the fair warning. So
yeah, fair enough. Right. So
I'm excited.
My second summer, I'm working in Baltimore County, Maryland. I think I was in Randallstown, or maybe Catonsville. I don't know. But it was like the hottest summer on record for like a bunch of years. And like, you know, the kind of heat, you know, where like you step outside and like if you stand on the front porch too long, you like your shoes start to get a little gooey, right? Because like it's hot. And the area of town that I was working in, that my roommates were working in, had a lot of, you know, people from different backgrounds, right? And like, side note, that was one of my favorite parts of selling books, was like trying different food, right? And like sometimes making a game of it. And at that point in the summer, like my roommates and I would literally make a game of who could bring home the most food but not like granola bars, but like plates, like to-go plates, right? And like
boy.
we would eat to-go plates every night. And like one night it's like, Brazilian food, and then it's Thai food, and then it's like, Middle Eastern food, and like it was awesome, right? It was so much fun that time of the summer. I'm a bee manager, right? And I haven't yet really like crossed that emotional intelligence threshold of recognizing when like the Sammy Southwestern like word is law hasn't really like escaped my brain yet, right? So I haven't really realized like you got to learn to dance in between the lines, and like just because my manager says like never go back to your HQ doesn't mean like the world actually will, you know what I mean? Like I haven't yet figured that out yet. Like I'm trying to be Sammy Southwestern for my rookies, right? And so so we eat some food one night, and it does not sit well. And I'm up the whole night, and so are they. And the alarm goes off in the morning, and I'm like wiping the stuff off my face. I'm like, let's go, let's get it. We go to the breakfast place. Like none of us are feeling well. All three of us are just rotating the one bathroom. But I'm trying to pretend like nothing's wrong, because again, like that's like where my brain's at, right? So one of my roommates was a walker. Poor guy. I drop him off. I'm like, see ya, man. It's gonna be the best day ever. Like we've all got something, right? Something's not sitting well. And I'm working, and it's like noon, and no one's answering. And again, like just blinders on, like blind trust in I do what you tell me to do. And so like I need to go to the bathroom. That means I can only go to the bathroom in a prospect's house, because that is like the word is law at this point. And so like I'm like frantically trying to get sit downs till demolish bathrooms. Like it was not a pretty morning, right? And so it's around noon. Like I haven't gotten to sit down this goal period. Like my insides hurt. I don't feel great. And I go up to this house, and it's got that little beware of dog sign, like the little orange one, right? It's about yay long. It says beware of dog. It's got a little dog in the end. And when you sell books, like you realize like most of the time that sign means nothing,
Absolutely.
Most dogs are so chill. They're so fun. The big ones, like the big scary ones, like they're teddy bears, and then like it's the little guys, who think they're 15 times the size they are, like, and you just push them away with your pre-approach pad. It's fine. The beware of dog sign means nothing to me. And so I park my car, I go, and they've got like a farmhouse style, right? So it's like this porch, right? You got your door at the end, you got your porch, and then you've got a railing. Okay. So just visually, we've got our deck, railing, door, deck, stairs. Okay. Car's back here. Okay. Car, house, follow.
Yeah.
So I run up, and I knock, and sitting there, like my insides don't feel great, but I'm just like, it's a great day. It's a great day. I feel great. I feel great, because, you say it enough, eventually it makes sense. Right. And I hear this just like not like a bark, just like a heavy grunt, and I turn around, and there is this like legitimately scary looking dog, like a Doberman Mastiff German Shepherd monstrosity combined in a lab somewhere, like staring into the depths of my soul with its hackles up, its teeth bared, and it's just staring at me silent. And I'm like, oh no, and I'm like looking at it, and I kind of try and like look back at the door, and like, like, please open your door. I'm knocking again. And then I see that they've got another beware of dog sign right by the door. But on this one, in little tiny Sharpie, they wrote trained attack dog.
Oh no.
And so now I'm standing, the door's here, I'm here, the dog's here, the stairs are here, right? So like the dog is between me and the door. I'm terrified. And
Oh no.
I'm just like, please God answer, please God answer, please. I knock again and no one's coming to the door. And he's just staring at me. And just the low, like, not even like I'm about to eat you. And in just like this one like fluid moment, like I bend down to pick up the bag and I don't even know what I'm gonna do. And it's like this slow motion sequence. He starts lunging at me and I take my pre-approach and I smack him across the face and I jump across the banister, and somewhere in there, all the tension releases.
Ooh, no.
And you pooped your pants.
I'm sprinting to the car, just drenched for all the wrong reasons.
Oh my God.
And this dog, I mean, I swear to God, if it wasn't for like that railing that I jumped over, the only thing that saved me was the fact that this dog ran. He had to go here, down the stairs and back. And by that point, it was like something out of a movie. I get to the car and I close it and he just like thuds into the side. And I'm just sitting there in shock. And there's stuff all down my legs. It's not good. And this is probably the worst part. Like, I don't know what to do. Right?
Right. Yo.
Because the answer to every problem lies behind
the
the
next
next
door. Yeah.
door. Yeah. So, like I had like some napkins. I tried to clean up and I kept working.
Dude.
For like an hour. Like,
oh,
dude.
Did people
again,
notice?
it's like no EQ, no understanding as a 19-year-old kid of like, maybe when they say don't go back to your HQ during the day, they didn't really like think about like maybe you should get this taken care of, you know?
Yeah.
But like in my brain, it was like, this is going to be like a Matt Atchison story. This is going to be like a Nick Henderson story of like this terrible day, and then I'm gonna sell like 100 units today because I kept going.
Oh my
And
God.
I mean, after like an hour, like I was like, I can't do this. And I go to a gas station, like I like legit clean up, you know, like thankfully it was like a truck stop, like take a shower kind of deal. I forgot I had to change the clothes in the car. I got changed. I went out and I think I sold like a Mufu the rest of that day. Like it wasn't like a triumphant return. Like it was something that happened, and
Oh my gosh.
it was ridiculous. But the funniest part about this,
Oh,
right,
please.
is that night. So this is before Voxer, you know, a bunch of this like new technology. Like at the time, the way that our organization was relaying information was like a phone tree, right?
Yeah,
so
you
like
called it. Yeah.
at the time, if Nick or one of the DSLs wanted to get a message out, they would record it and then they just send it to everybody, right? And like it would be, you would call into the phone tree and hear the message, the pre-recorded thing. So I didn't sell much, but like, darn it, I still felt like triumph for pushing through. And so I called Nick Henderson and I left him a voicemail. And I was like, hey man, I just want to tell you the story of what happened today. And you know, I tell the story. Nick sent it to the entire force organization.
Dude.
So not only did this story now exist in the world, right? Because that's what Nick chose to do, which, you know, it's hilarious. But the funniest part about that is my wife sold one summer. She sold with the University of Missouri Force Columbia College crew. She was not in my org. She was the other org. We had two orgs that summer. So she was up north. I was down south. She self-describes as like a small town farm girl who's going to marry her high school sweetheart and move back and raise cows, right? Like we were in very different places in life, right? She thought of me as, still curly haired tie-dye guy. And Nick sent that voicemail out. So my wife's first impression of me, other than just like the 5 minutes at sales school, the memory she associates with me as a 19-year-old kid is that.
Is that you shit your pants fighting a dog.
Yeah. But now we have 2 kids, so it's fine.
And that's how babies are made, baby. That's it.
There you go.
Right. That's how Bill becomes a law, right?
One thing led to another. Now you have 2 kids.
Yeah.
So if you're out there, that's hilarious.
It's just wild,
dude.
man. It's just wild. It's like,
goodness, man.
And I think that the funny thing about this, I wasn't planning on sharing it, but like, I feel like this is the only place where I can share that, and it makes sense, because like I've told that story to other people who didn't sell books, and it's already a ridiculous story when you're just telling people what I was doing in the first place. I was living on the other side of the country selling books door to door, straight commission, 80 hours a week. Like they're like, wait, what? And I shipped myself.
That's right.
What?
That isn't shared at the info when you're recruiting. Yeah,
right.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's not. You don't put it that's not part of the parent visit. Like, oh yeah, one time.
Yeah. That's
is like a dog story and a poop story. That's twofer. So that's a number 2.
Yeah. So that's me. That's my Southwestern story. So gonna go put my kids to bed now or something. But that's why
let's have you back on sometime.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh cool. Man, that was so fun. Hey man, thank you so much. As we're wrapping up here, we'll give a quick shout out to our last partner of the day. We would love to talk about EnLight.Energy. Nick, do you want to share about EnLight?
Yeah, so EnLight, as I'm repping right here, is my solar company that I've been working with this past year. It's owned and operated by book people. Julio Hernandez, former DSL himself, he's a great mentor of mine. He chose to believe in us at an early stage. So he's been kind of like a low level behind the scenes sponsor for, since April, I think it's been. But now he's, getting some ad space on the air, and we're excited to shout him out. And I'm excited to keep growing in business with him. So if you're curious about what it could take to work with us, solar is a great industry. It's got nowhere but up to go in terms of, interest in the market. People are really loving the fact that they can save money on something that they're paying money towards every single month anyway. Solar is open in any market where the sun shines. So you can do so remotely. It's got flexible hours. And reps are making 6+ figures just on a sale or 2 a week. So it's nothing too crazy. That's right. Beyond the potential. The potential is incredible. So we're building something cool here. We love it.
It's a relationship built sale, which is a really cool part of it too. I worked with them. I still work with them part-time. They're awesome to work with. So phenomenal. Dude, DBA, thank you so much for being on, man. God, what a fun time. Make sure you follow up with us. We'll send you, we'll be staying in touch. We might need some spots filled up for February for married couples. FYI. So just putting that in your radar.
We have, I think, one more left because I've been booking some of them.
So that's gonna be exciting. Speaking of coming up, really quick, Nick, can you give us like a 25-second who's up next?
Yeah, so this Sunday we've got Alistair Edwards, who's like somehow become social media famous without other book people knowing. I never knew about him until Andres brought him to the table, and we're excited to have him on and share some wisdom. Then after that, we've got Ingrid Keister-Geisman, Yvette's sister, top producing, awesome book chick there. Aaron Raleigh the Sunday after that. Lee McCroskey the Thursday the 20th. We're excited to have Lee on. That's going to be
season 3 finale.
Oh yeah. And then we start back up with David Thomas, Greta Huerta, Eva Seffel, and Pete and Morgan will start off our month of February, the Burgesses, to look into the lives of married book couples. So yeah,
that's right. Cool.
Get excited.
Cool beans, man. Well, again, thanks so much, Dan, for being on. Everybody, my name is Andres Gamboa-Barrera. Nick Taverdi is my co-host, and we've been on with Daniel Burke-Aguero. You can find him at Burke-Aguero on Instagram or LinkedIn. If you want to get a little bit more knowledge on how to get some coaching from him, I would highly recommend it for sure. Thank you so much, Dan. See you later.
All love, guys.
See you
See
guys.
ya.